The Galactic Council met in the Great Chamber of Stars. It was a giant hall floating in deep space, surrounded by bright stars and dark silence. Leaders from every powerful alien race were there. The air was thick with tension. At the center of the room stood a long, glowing table. Around it sat creatures of all shades. Tall, thin Iksari with golden skin, the cold-eyed Zarn with metallic scales, and many others. At the far end, in a black suit, sat the human ambassador, Elias Ward. He was calm. Too calm. "Let's begin," said Chancellor Threx of the Zarn. His voice echoed. This emergency session was called because of the growing danger, the human threat. There were quiet growls and nods across the room. "The humans have broken too many galactic laws," said a spiny creature named Keltov. "They colonize too fast. They mine without permission. They build weapons beyond their level. They act like predators." A screen lit up, showing images. Human ships in restricted space, human soldiers on alien borders, human science stations where they weren't allowed. There were gasps and whispers. "They were warned," said another, "many times." Then a large alien stood. He was General Vokar of the Ruin, a warrior species feared by many. "I will speak clearly," Vokar said, staring at the human. "Humans are unstable primitives. They hide their weapons. They refuse inspections. They train children for war. If we do not stop them now, they will burn the galaxy." Elias Ward said nothing. "We demand full disarmament of Earth and its colonies," Vokar continued. "Every missile, every drone, every ship. We will supervise. Resistance will be seen as a declaration of war." Some leaders looked unsure. Others nodded quickly. The human ambassador looked at the glowing table. Then, slowly, he stood up. His face showed no emotion. "For years," Elias said, "we followed the Council's rules. We paid fines. We signed treaties. We stayed quiet when insulted. We kept peace while you sent spies and ships near our worlds." The room fell silent. "You call us dangerous," he said, his voice steady. "You say we spread too fast. But maybe you're just afraid that we don't need you." Murmurs broke out. Some aliens looked shocked. Others stared in anger. "You came here to demand we kneel," Elias said. "Instead, let me give you our answer." He tapped a small device on his wrist. A hologram appeared, showing Earth's flag. "Earth rejects your demand." Gasps filled the room. "This council has crossed a line," he said. "You chose pride over peace. You want obedience, not respect. Then you choose war," shouted Vokar. "No," Elias said. "We choose silence." He walked away from the table. "You've made your choice." Those were his final words. The council members shouted, argued, and panicked as Elias left the chamber. No one knew what Earth would do next. But deep inside, many felt it. They had pushed too far. For the next few days, the galaxy waited. But there was nothing. No news from Earth. No threats. No broadcasts. And then something strange happened. All known human ships vanished from Council scanners. Their colonies went dark. Trade stations closed. Even civilian ships disappeared. Patrol drones found empty space where human fleets used to orbit. A deep silence covered the stars. The Council tried to send messages. No reply. Some thought Earth had surrendered. Others whispered that something was coming. Then came the reports. A cargo ship on the edge of Zarn space was found drifting. Its engines melted, its crew missing. No signs of attack. Only one word scratched into the metal hull. Enough. 2 Council scouts went to investigate. They never returned. Satellites near Earth's outer colonies picked up strange signals. Fast, encrypted, human. And then, nothing again. The silence was worse than any war. Fear spread quickly. In council chambers, leaders argued. Some wanted to send fleets. Others said to wait. But none could ignore one truth. Humanity had gone quiet. And in the galaxy, silence from humans was not peace. It was a warning. Some species had seen this before, long ago, in Earth's early rise. When humanity is loud, they are talking. When they are quiet, they are planning. And somewhere, far beyond Council space, deep in a dark corner of the galaxy, the human fleets were gathering. Earth had not surrendered. Earth was preparing. The Galactic Council was nervous. It had been 12 days since the human ambassador walked out. Since then, no one had seen or heard from Earth. At first, the Council believed Earth was scared. Some laughed, saying the humans had gone into hiding like cowards. Others said Earth was planning something worse, but no one knew the truth. Then, something strange happened. A patrol ship from the Varric Empire failed to report. It was last seen near the border of human space. The Council sent a search team. They found only broken parts floating in silence. The black box was recovered, damaged but still working. The last recording was short. The pilot's voice shook with fear. Something moved in the dark. Too fast. No warning. Then static. Nothing more. The Council said it was probably pirates, or maybe a navigation error, but inside the chamber, fear was growing. More ships began to vanish. A trade convoy disappeared near the outer edge of the sector once patrolled by humans. No distress signal, no wreckage. Gone. Then the Council received a signal. One of their scouts, a small, fast ship, had returned from the human border. Its pilot was barely alive. His skin was burned. His eyes were wide. His voice was weak. But he said one word over and over again. Human. Council doctors tried to calm him, but he screamed until his heart stopped. A medical scan of his ship revealed radiation burns, but not from any known weapon. His ship's systems were fried. Internal lights had melted. And something strange was found burned into the ship's hull. Deep black symbols. Old Terran military code. It translated to, "Turn back." That same night, strange signals were picked up across the outer systems. Static. Whispers. A sound that some called a voice. Others said it was just noise. But those who listened closely heard the same words. You were warned. The Council was now in full panic. Meetings were called every hour. Military leaders screamed at politicians. Some members wanted to send full fleets into human territory. Others said it was suicide. We don't even know where they are, shouted one general. They've disappeared from the grid. Or maybe, whispered a scientist, they're watching. From the shadows. The Council began sending more ships to the edge of human space. But every time, fewer returned. Some ships came back burned. Others were empty, their crews gone without a trace. One ship returned with every crew member still inside, frozen not by cold, but by fear. They couldn't speak. They couldn't move. They just stared forward, eyes wide, mouths open. They had all gone mad. One admiral, a proud and powerful ruin, tried to invade a small human moon colony that was left behind. He led 5 warships into orbit. 4 hours later, one ship drifted back. No power, no crew. Only one thing was found, a floating metal plate welded to the bridge wall. 4 words. You started this war. That admiral was never seen again. The Council now understood something terrible. Humanity was not hiding. Humanity was hunting. They were striking from the shadows. No announcements, no warnings, no mercy, just silence, then destruction. And they weren't using the same old ships. No, something had changed. Survivors spoke of ghost ships, massive, black, silent. They didn't glow. They didn't hum. They just appeared in the dark and moved faster than anything in the galaxy. No one saw weapons fire. No one saw engines. One survivor said it best. It was like the stars blinked. And when they opened again, everything was gone. The Council finally realized the truth. Humanity had changed. They were not the same species the Council had bullied for years. They were not weak, not slow, not behind in tech. They were something else now. Cold, quiet, and unstoppable. The galaxy had always feared humans because of their emotions, their fire, their chaos. But now they feared something worse. Their silence. And in the dark between stars, where Council sensors could not reach, the black ships of Earth moved through the void, watching, waiting, choosing their next target. The Council still didn't understand how it had gone this far. One moment, they were demanding Earth to disarm. Now, entire sectors had gone quiet. No trade, no signals, just black space and fear. The Council called for a military gathering at Starhold Prime, the largest fortress station near the edge of human space. Over 100 warships arrived from different species. They wanted to show strength. They thought maybe if they stood together, the humans would back down. But fear still lived in the corners of every officer's eyes. As the Council leaders met inside Starhold Prime, a strange report came in. A listening station, deep in Sector 12, picked up a low-frequency signal. It was weak, like an old human radio wave. It repeated one sentence every 33 seconds. "We remember." The message had no source, no origin. It seemed to come from the space itself. That night, 3 Council ships guarding a nearby mining moon went dark. When backup arrived, the moon was still there, but the ships were gone. Only burn marks on the surface showed where they had been. And carved into the rock with laser precision were 2 more words: "Still watching." Panic spread through the ranks. Some captains refused to leave dock. Others turned off their long-range scanners, afraid to attract attention. But it didn't matter, because the ghost fleets had already arrived. They came without warning. No lights, no sound, just dark shadows slipping through space like death itself. The first sighting came from a Kelvin scout cruiser near the Orax belt. The officer reported a huge shape moving beside their ship, completely invisible to sensors. The shape didn't attack. It just moved silently, like it was studying them. Then it vanished. 3 hours later, the cruiser exploded from the inside. No enemy ships were nearby. Only a human symbol left floating in the debris, an old Earth military rank badge, fused into melted metal. By the end of the week, more ships vanished. Not in battles, but in perfect silence. A Varnek fleet of 12 ships went missing while entering Sector 9. They had just reported seeing a dark line of stars moving across space. Those were the last words heard. Their backup fleet entered 2 hours later. They found nothing but empty space. No wreckage, no signals, only a piece of broken glass, floating alone in the dark. Etched on its surface were coordinates, the center of Council space. The Council could no longer deny the truth. Earth had built something terrible, something hidden, something powerful, a new kind of weapon, one not made of metal and fire, but fear and silence. The ghost fleets, made in the black zones of space, hidden by Earth's best minds, powered by technology no one else had ever seen. Ships with no crew, no lights, no heat, invisible to sensors, fast, quiet, deadly. And they didn't strike for land or resources. They struck for reminders. Reminders of what the Council had done. Every time a ghost fleet destroyed a target, it left a message behind. Simple, clear, cold. We warned you. These weren't attacks. They were lessons. And the Council began to learn. Back on Starhold Prime, the Council leaders screamed at each other in fear. Why won't they talk to us? Why don't they respond to our peace offers? Why are they doing this? Only one ambassador, an old Doran named Cautel, dared to speak the truth. Because we didn't listen when they warned us. Now, they are speaking in the only language we understand. Fear. A hush fell over the room. No one argued. Everyone knew he was right. The Council had demanded Earth's surrender. They had insulted its people, threatened its children, called them unstable. Now, Earth had answered, and its answer was floating through space in the form of ghost ships, hidden weapons, and silence. The Council wanted war, but Earth had given them something worse: doubt, paranoia, and waiting. Because the worst part wasn't what had happened. It was what hadn't happened yet. The fleets of Earth had not attacked the Council worlds. They hadn't bombed cities or destroyed stations. They were holding back, watching, choosing, and everyone now feared the same question. What happens when the ghost fleets stop warning and start erasing? The Council was on edge. They could feel it now, the slow, creeping fear that something was coming. The ghost fleets, silent, watching, waiting, had taught the galaxy a terrible lesson, but no one knew what would happen next. Some thought Earth would make its move, strike fast, and end it all. Others whispered that humanity was content to let the galaxy suffer from the unknown. Then one mistake broke the silence. It came from the Ruin, the most powerful and proud race in the galaxy. They had always been leaders in the Council, their warships unmatched, and their fleet invincible. The Ruin had long looked down on humans, seeing them as primitive creatures unworthy of respect. But now, they were making a decision that would change everything. The Ruin, desperate to prove their superiority, sent a fleet of 20 warships into the outer human colonies. They declared the mission as a peacekeeping operation, a warning to Earth, reminding them that they were under the Council's control. It was meant to show force, to intimidate. They were wrong. The fleet entered the outer rim of human space, expecting easy victories. But they didn't know that Earth's fleets were already there, silent, invisible, waiting. When the Rune ships crossed the boundary, they found nothing at first. The cold emptiness of space stretched before them. But then, something happened. A signal came through. A simple message in the language of the Rune, encrypted to perfection. You've made your mistake. It came too late. The first warship exploded, silently, in the vacuum of space. There was no explosion of fire, no loud noise, just the sudden, unexplainable disappearance of the ship. The other Rune ships froze. What followed was more chilling than any weapon. Another ship vanished, then another. One by one, the Rune fleet disappeared without a trace, as though the darkness itself was swallowing them whole. The remaining Rune warships turned in panic, racing back toward their own space. But it was too late. Before they could flee, their systems began to fail. Engines shut down. Lights blinked out. Weapons systems locked up. They were trapped. And then, as the last ship attempted to escape, a single human ship appeared in front of them. It was not a large ship. It was small, sleek, almost ghostly, but its presence sent a wave of dread across the fleet. The ship did not fire any weapons, nor did it make a sound. It simply watched. The remaining Rune ships froze in space. The human ship didn't chase them. It didn't destroy them. It didn't need to. The message had been made. You've made your mistake. The Rune fleet was silent for hours. One ship, a fast scout vessel, managed to break free from the others and send a single transmission before vanishing into the depths of space. We have made a terrible mistake. The transmission ended. The Rune had no choice but to retreat, humiliated, their fleet shattered. They had made the mistake of underestimating humanity, and they were paying the price. The Council could not ignore what had happened. The Rune were too proud, too powerful. Their fleet was one of the most advanced in the galaxy. Yet they had been reduced to nothing in the blink of an eye. And still, the ghost fleets watched. The galaxy was shaken. The Council leaders scrambled to hold emergency meetings, desperate to find answers. Why didn't they destroy the Rune fleet completely? Asked one leader. Why leave them alive? Why didn't they finish the job? One advisor, an older Zephyr, spoke in a quiet voice. Because humanity isn't finished with the Council. Yet. The truth stung. Earth wasn't looking for a full-scale war. It wasn't trying to conquer the galaxy. No, Earth was showing the galaxy that it had learned how to fight. Quietly, efficiently, with deadly precision. But they were only getting started. The Rune's fleet had been a mistake, one that would go down in history as the turning point. The Council had made the mistake of thinking humanity was weak, and now they were going to regret it. The galaxy was in shock. The Rune, the greatest military power in the galaxy, had been humiliated by a single move from humanity. It wasn't a battle. It wasn't a war. It was a message, a warning that rang through the stars. And the galaxy was beginning to realize just how dangerous that warning was. Back in Council space, the leaders had gathered again. The mood was dark, heavy with fear and confusion. The Rune were powerful, yes, but now they were broken. The once mighty fleet had been crushed without a single shot fired. Now, they had to face the terrifying truth. The ghost fleets were real, and they weren't going anywhere. Why didn't they finish them off? Demanded a Vark leader, pacing the room. Why leave the Rune alive? Why not destroy them completely? A tall, somber figure spoke next. It was Cautel, the Doran ambassador who had warned them from the start. His voice was steady, but his words were sharp. Because they don't need to destroy. The message is enough. They are teaching us, showing us what happens when we push them too far. The room fell silent. The Council had pushed Earth too far. Now, humanity was no longer the weak, fragile species they had once thought them to be. They were something else, something dangerous, and the Council didn't know how to stop them. But one thing was clear. The ghost fleets had not yet shown their full strength. What happened next proved that. In the far reaches of the galaxy, on the edge of Council space, a new report came in. This time, it wasn't just a missing ship or a destroyed fleet. No, this was different. The message was simple, but chilling. The humans have arrived. A deep space station, built to monitor the outer rim of human territory, had gone silent. A team of researchers had been stationed there to track any unusual activity. But now, there was nothing. No transmissions, no reports, just dead space. Within hours, the Council had dispatched a fleet of 20 warships to investigate. What they found sent shivers down their spines. The station was empty. Not a single living being was there. The equipment was still running, but it was like the station had been abandoned in the middle of the night. No signs of struggle, no damage, just empty. But then, as the fleet began to turn back, a lone transmission came through. It was simple, and yet it sent a wave of panic through the entire fleet. This is your last warning. The ships turned around quickly, their engines roaring to life. They had barely made it back to the safety of Council space when a deep, echoing silence fell over them. The ghost fleets were no longer invisible. They had come out of the shadows. The first strike came swiftly. The lead ship of the Council fleet disappeared into the darkness. The lights blinked out, and the ship was gone. No explosion, no warning, just silence. The other ships scattered, their engines firing in every direction. But the ghost fleets were faster. One by one, the warships vanished. There was no battle, no epic clash of weapons, just the cold, unfeeling silence of space as the ghost fleets picked off their targets. The Council fleet was wiped out in minutes. A message followed soon after. We warned you. It was simple, clear, and terrifying. The Council could no longer deny it. Humanity had awakened something terrible, something they had no way of stopping. No one knew what to do next. But deep inside the heart of Council space, an emergency meeting was called. The leaders, each from a different race, sat around a massive table, their faces pale and grim. What are we going to do? One leader asked. If they can do this to the Rune, to our fleets, how much more power do they have? Another leader, the Zethar, spoke quietly, but the words hit hard. Humanity doesn't need to use force. Their strength lies in their patience. They've shown us what happens when they get pushed too far, but they haven't unleashed their full fury yet. There was a long silence. Each leader in the room knew that Earth had something far worse waiting. The ghost fleets were just the beginning. In the far reaches of space, humanity's wrath was only starting to unfold. Earth wasn't going to fall to the Council's threats, and the galaxy had no idea just how much damage one species, with the right strategy, could do. The Council had made the mistake of underestimating humanity, and now humanity had made it clear. They would not stop until the galaxy learned its lesson. The galaxy was paralyzed with fear. The Galactic Council had tried to maintain control, but now they were trapped in a nightmare of their own making. Humanity had proven they were no longer the weak, helpless species the Council had once dismissed. They had shown the galaxy that they could fight and win without ever raising a weapon. Now, the Council was scrambling to find any way to stop humanity's wrath from spreading further. But deep down, they knew they had already lost. In the quiet of the Council's war room, the leaders sat in silence. Their ships had been destroyed, their fleets shattered. Their power had crumbled beneath the silent weight of humanity's fury. "We cannot let this go on," one leader, a tall Norn, said, his voice trembling with fear. "Humanity has humiliated us. If we don't act now, they will destroy us all." The others exchanged nervous glances. The once proud leaders of the galaxy had become weak before the might of a single species. Cattell, the Doran ambassador who had warned them from the start, stood up slowly. His face was grim, but his eyes showed a quiet resolve. "We have no choice but to negotiate. There is no other way. We must reach out to Earth, apologize, and beg for peace before it's too late." The room was silent. For a moment, it seemed like the weight of reality was finally sinking in. The Council had underestimated humanity. They had pushed them too far. Now, they would have to pay the price. But before anyone could respond, a loud siren cut through the silence. The room shook, the lights flickered. Panic spread across the faces of the leaders. "It's happening again," one of the Zephyr leaders gasped. "The ghost fleets, they've returned." In an instant, the Council war room was filled with images from every corner of Council space. Chaos. Across the galaxy, the ghost fleets were moving. Ships were vanishing. Entire planets were going silent. No one could stop it. No one could fight back. Then, one by one, the Council received the message they had been dreading. "You made your choice. Now we make ours." The voice was calm, almost indifferent, but the words sent shivers down every spine in the room. The ghost fleets had returned, and they weren't just watching anymore. They were acting. And Earth wasn't stopping. The transmission cut off, and silence followed. The Council scrambled to respond. Panic spread through the leaders. They had no idea how to fight back. There was no way to win. "We need to do something. We need to stop them," another leader cried out, but the others remained frozen. In every corner of the galaxy, Earth's fleets were attacking with precision, wiping out enemy ships, erasing entire systems from the map, leaving nothing but dust in their wake. It was efficient, almost surgical. Humanity wasn't just showing their power, they were showing their control. As the ghost fleets continued their relentless march, the Council sent out a final message, one of desperate surrender. "We were wrong. Please, end this. We beg you." But the silence was deafening. No response came. And then, Earth's final message arrived. "This is the cost of crossing us." The ghost fleets halted. In the vast expanse of space, every fleet stopped moving at once. There was no more destruction, no more bloodshed, no more war. For a moment, it felt like the galaxy could breathe again. But the damage was done. The Galactic Council, once the unchallenged power in the galaxy, had been reduced to a shadow of its former self. The fear and awe that humanity's ghost fleets had instilled in them could never be erased. They had made their mistake. Humanity had shown the galaxy what true power looked like, not in weapons, not in ships, but in patience, in strategy, and in the strength to fight when no one expected it. The Galactic Council had learned their lesson. But it was too late for them to undo their mistake. The galaxy would never be the same again. And humanity, though quiet in its power, would continue to watch. The galaxy had learned the hard way: never cross humanity.